Our presentation topic is Israel and Palestine conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict has lasted for decades, with roots tracing back to 1947, when the UN proposed dividing Palestine into Arab and Jewish states. The Arab League rejected the plan, and Israel was established in 1948, sparking the first ever Arab-Israeli war. By 1949, Israel's victory displaced 750,000 Palestinians and divided the region into Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank. The conflict remains unresolved, with casualties rising daily. Now I will talk about the historical background of this conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict dates back to the 19th century but escalated in 1947 with UN Resolution 181, which partitioned Palestine into Arab and Jewish states, leaving Jerusalem under international administration. Jews accepted the plan as a basis for Israel's creation, but Arabs rejected it. In 1948, Israel's establishment led to the first ever Arab-Israeli war, displacing 750,000 Palestinians, dividing the land into Israel, Gaza, and West Bank. This displacement, known as the Nakba, which saw many Palestinians flee to neighboring countries like Jordan. In 1967, tensions rose as Palestinian guerrilla attacks on Israel from Syrian bases increased hostility between the two nations. The Six-Day War saw Israel gain control of the Sinai Peninsula, Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. In 1973, Egypt and Syria launched the Yom Kippur War to reclaim lost territories. The Cold War intensified, with the Soviet Union backing Egypt and Syria while the US supported Israel. Efforts for peace included the 1978 Camp David Accords, where Egypt recognized Israel in exchange for Israeli withdrawal from Sinai. The main objective of this agreement was to create a framework to earn peace in the Middle East. Hence, there is a formalization of Arab recognizing Israel by creating a procedure that will withdraw Israeli armies and citizens from occupying the West Bank. In 1993, the Palestinian Liberal Organization (PLO), represented by the chairman Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, signed the Oslo Accords agreement that envisioned peace within 5 years. A follow-up of the Accords in 1995 liberalized the occupied West Bank into Area A, B, and C. The Palestinian Authority, which emerged at the end of the Oslo process, was to have limited self-government on 18% of the land, while Israel steadily maintained its control of the West Bank. By 2007, Hamas gained power in Gaza, prompting a 16-year Israeli blockade. The blockade caused a severe humanitarian crisis, with Hamas retaliating through rocket attacks. Israel responded with military offensive, including a 22-day operation in Gaza that killed nearly 1,400 Palestinians and 13 Israelis.
The Israeli-Palestine conflict has received mixed reaction from around the world. While some criticize the international community for not stopping the violence, efforts to mediate have been made. Some countries strongly support Israel because of historical alliance, while others show solidarity with Palestine and fight for their rights. Many nations remain neutral, encouraging peaceful talks to resolve the conflicts. At the same time, humanitarian organizations are working to help civilians who are suffering. This global response play a big role in shaping peace efforts and ongoing discussion about the conflicts.
President Biden and Vice President Harris sitting down with the National Security Council in the Situation Room Monday to discuss the latest developments in the Middle East. Israel and the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah have exchanged strikes frequently since war broke out in Gaza nearly 10 months ago. But the fight...
Israel and Palestine has clashed over claim to the Holy Land for descent, a conflict that has long been one of the world's most intractable, according to Robinson 2023. The United States is a strong supporter of Israel and has traditionally tried to advance a diplomatic solution to reconcile the competing claims. The European Union (EU) has taken a more balanced approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, advocating strongly for a two-state solution. The EU frequently condemns Israeli settlement activities in the West Bank, viewing them as a violation of international law that undermine peace efforts. Over the descent, the EU has aimed at resolving the Israel-Palestine conflict through its foreign and security policy. EUFSP toes with the two-state solution as the overarching principle for conflict resolutions. While individual EU member states may differ in their support for Israel or Palestine, the EU collectively emphasizes human rights and provides significant humanitarian aid to Palestinians, especially in Gaza. However, despite efforts through its foreign and security policy, the EU approach has faced challenges, including regional fragmentation and internal agreements. This policy has been ineffective due to the contextual interplay of multipolar competitions, regional fragmentation, and EU-level internal contestation. The European Union (EU) has taken a more balanced approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, advocating strongly for a two-state solution. The EU frequently condemns Israeli settlement activities in the West Bank, viewing them as a violation of international law that undermine peace efforts. Over the descent, the EU has aimed at resolving the Israel-Palestine conflict through its foreign and security policy. EUFSP toes with the two-state solution as the overarching principle for conflict resolutions. While individual EU member states may differ in their support for Israel or Palestine, the EU collectively emphasizes human rights and provides significant humanitarian aid to Palestinians, especially in Gaza. However, despite efforts through its foreign and security policy, the EU approach has faced challenges, including regional fragmentation and internal agreements. This policy has been ineffective due to the contextual interplay of multipolar competitions, regional fragmentation, and EU-level internal contestation. Next, Russia and China. Russia positioned itself as a mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict using its historical ties with Asian states and growing engagement with Israel to maintain influence. It supports Palestinian statehood, aligning with it, emphasizing on international law and the right of self-determination. Russia has also strengthened its regional power by leveraging alliance with Syria, Iran, particularly following its involvement in the Syria civil war. This victory not only solidified Russian role in the region but also served as a platform to expand arms sales.
Now, we will continue with international organization and peace efforts. Let's begin. What is international organization? International organization may be referred to as entity formed by a formal structure that is created by mutual consent of members where at least two sovereign nations participate intending to promote the shared goals of the membership. International organization poses an important role in delivering assistance, monitoring trends, establishing forums and negotiation, and resolving conflicts. The United Nations has played a significant role in defining the terms and principles of international organization. Firstly, the United Nations was officially established on October 24, 1945, following the World War II. The United Nations can be classified as the world's biggest intergovernmental organization, IGO, comprising of 193 state members. Moreover, the United Nations established a decentralized structure comprised of 6 primary organizations such as the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Court of Justice, the Secretariat, the Strategic Council, and the Academic and Social Council. The United Nations was established with numerous goals, including maintaining international peace and security, developing ties between states, achieving international collaboration, and serving as a center for harmonization. Referring to the conflict Israel and Palestine, since its inception, the United Nations has been the first major international organization to have direct access to an involvement in the conflict between the two states in 1947 to resolve the tension between the nations. There are several efforts that have been done by the United Nations in this conflict. Firstly, is providing facility for Palestine refugees. The United Relief and Work Agency (UNRWA) was created in the 1950s to address refugee issue in Gaza, West Bank, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. The UNRWA is the only international agency that addresses refugee issue in a particular geographic region. UNRWA developed 58 camps over the decade for Palestine refugees in the Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. The mission of UNRWA is to provide essential services, protection, and humanitarian support to Palestine refugees throughout the conflict. There are several efforts that have implemented by the UNRWA in providing facility for Palestine refugees. According to UNRWA, approximately 32,840 individuals have registered with the organization to provide humanitarian aid and development programs to Palestine refugees. Moreover, UNRWA offers various essential services to Palestine refugees, including 7 million essential healthcare services to maintain that refugees have access to necessary medical treatment. Therefore, over 543,000 Palestine refugee children receive quality education during the school year 2022 and 2023. Furthermore, providing cash and food assistance to almost 332,000 individuals with the aim to reduce poverty and food security. Lastly, UNRWA reconstructed 468 shelters to comply with agency safety requirements, which included constructing 3 schools and 6 healthcare. Hence, the UNRWA operates to defend and develop Palestine refugee rights under the international law. It is because Palestine refugees are among the most vulnerable population facing discrimination and limited access to human rights due to the conflict.
We will move to the next peace effort done by the UN towards the Palestine and Israel conflict, which is ceasefire. What is ceasefire? According to Govinda Clinton, a ceasefire is a method of agreement that undertaken to achieve peace that is agreed by both committed manner by one of the parties between two or more parties in an armed conflict. In theory, a ceasefire is considered to be completely successful when peace is achieved immediately, when the order for a ceasefire is given and the violence ceases. In the conflict between Palestine and Israel, countless ceasefires have been given between these two parties since the UN itself have allowed the Jews to form a state in the land of Palestine in 1947. However, the ceasefire agreement between these two parties is only temporarily because of the pressure exerted by the Israel side, which is so cruel on the Palestine land. The latest major conflict between Palestine and Israel is on October 2023. According to the report by Anadolu Agency, the number of Palestinian casualties up to 25 November 2024 has reached to 44,235 people, while the number of injured victims is 104,638 people. Therefore, the ceasefire discussed on May 31, 2024 was issued by the UN and urged both parties to implement it fully without condition for any reason. The United Nations has issued 3 phases of the ceasefire that must be implemented. The first phase is a total ceasefire that must be implemented immediately. The first required both parties must agree to release hostages, including women, the elderly, and the wounded, return the bodies of several hostages, exchange Palestinian prisoners, withdraw Israel troops from populated areas in Gaza, return Palestinian civilians to their homes and neighborhoods in all areas of Gaza, including the north, and distribute safe and effective humanitarian aid on a large scale through the Gaza Strip to all Palestinian civilians who need it, including housing units sent by the international community. In the second phase, the United Nations has requested for both sides between Palestine and Israel to make a ceasefire and an agreement to release hostages who are under control of both parties in the Gaza Strip. The second phase involves a permanent end to hostilities between Palestinians and Israel. There are two important components in the second phase, namely the release of hostages and the withdrawal of Israel from Gaza Strip. This phase can act as a step that will give a new end to the conflict between Palestine and Israel. It will be a long-term peace negotiation if both sides make this phase a success by providing good cooperation and fulfilling the obligation responsibly. The third phase of the peace agreement negotiation proposed at the United Nations meeting is the repair and reconstruction of Palestine, which has been crippled by the war. According to Balakrishnan Rajagopal, a United Nations housing expert, overall Palestine has been almost completely destroyed, with over 39 million tons of debris found in Gaza. The debris is made with unexploded explosive, toxic waste, asbestos from collapsed buildings, and other materials. Palestine will need at least 80 years to rebuild if Israel does not agree to this third phase and continuous attack on Palestine. Other than that, the bodies of any hostage still held in Palestine and Israel will be returned to their families to allow them to be buried properly. The United Nations Security Council strongly urged Palestine and Israel to abide by the terms once agreed upon and calls on all United Nations member states to support its implementation. The UNSC also strongly emphasized that the United Nations will condemn any action that attempts to change the demographic or territorial integrity of the Palestinian Peninsula, including any attempt to reduce the Palestinian territory. In conclusion, the peace efforts undertaken by the UN are aimed to establishing an understanding between Palestine and Israel that will enable them to continue living side by side and have a border. Palestine and Israel are also able to comply with international law and any relevant UN resolution.
Now we will continue with the human rights and the humanitarian impact. The Israeli and Palestinian conflict has led to widespread civilian suffering and displacements, particularly in Gaza. More than 6.3 million Palestinians are refugees in 2024, with many forced to leave their homes and due to military attacks and destruction. These displaced populations face a severe hardship, including poverty, malnutrition, lack of water, around 95% of Gaza water unfit for consumption, and limited access to health and education. Overcrowding in temporary shelter has worsened health and living conditions, with malnutrition and disease are common due to insufficient resource. Generations in Palestinians have been trapped in cycles of displacement, poverty, and humanitarian crisis with no long-term solution in sight. Now we will continue with the infrastructure destructions. The ongoing conflict has devastated critical infrastructure, including homes, schools, hospitals, and roads, leaving many without essential service. Reconstruction efforts face significant challenges due to the blockage, material shortage, and political restriction, delaying recovery and prolonging the suffering. The destruction of homes erases not only physical structure but also memory and culture and stability for families. Damaged healthcare facility prevent access to proper treatment, while destroy schools, disrupt children's education, deprive them of opportunity for a better future. Efforts of rebuild are repeatedly undermined by ongoing hostility and the severe limitation imposed on obtaining reconstruction materials. The third point is impact on children. Children have been among the most vulnerable victim of the conflict, suffering physically, emotionally, and psychologically. In 2024 alone, 342 Palestinian children were killed and many others experiencing trauma from exposure to violence, bombing, and displacement. The loss of safety, stability, and access to education has profoundly affected their development and future prospects. Schools are often destroyed or unsafe, depriving children of learning opportunity and leaving them trapped in a cycle of hopelessness. Many children grow up in overcrowded, unsafe environments, leading to long-term psychologically scars and a lack of opportunity for personal and social growth. The last point is the blockage and the economic hardship. The blockage on Gaza has exacerbated economic and humanitarian crises by restricting the movement of goods, services, and people. Essential items like food, medical supplies, and construction material are scarce, leaving families struggling to meet basic needs. Gaza's economy is crippled with a high unemployment rate, and 70% of population projected to live below the poverty line by 2027. Over half of Gaza population relies on humanitarian aid, but international efforts are constrained by funding shortage and access issues caused by the blockage. The prolonged siege has isolated Gaza, destroy livelihood, and suffers any prospect for economic recovery, leaving its people in a cycle of poverty and despair.
For internal challenges, the Palestine face a blockage and siege that threaten the economy and cause humanitarian problem. The first point is severe poverty and economic decline. The blockage has made life very hard in Gaza, which is more than half population live in poverty. Second is weak development. Gaza cannot rebuild their building properly because important material are blocked. There is a loss of sovereignty and right. The blockage stopped Palestine from controlling their own economy, and they cannot trade freely and leave Gaza for work or medical care. Next is impact on the trade development. The blockage made it hard to import and export goods to other countries. Lastly is humanitarian aid obstruction. Humanitarian aid often get blocked or delayed, which make the situation worse. People struggle to get help they need, especially for health and food. Then we go to next internal challenges, which is the internal split. The political split between Hamas and Fatah and impact on the Gaza Strip and Palestine territories. The first is governance challenges. This happen when there are two separate government that lead to confusion and make it hard to provide service like healthcare and education. The second is economic impact. Gaza economy is already struggling due to a blockage and the split made it worse. The third is social fragmentation. The split has caused mistrust between people in Gaza and the West Bank. The next is diplomatic and political isolation, because many countries consider Hamas a terrorist group. It's caused Gaza isolate from the world. This make harder to make progress in peace talk with Israel. The last is humanitarian consequences. Living conditions in Gaza are poor because of the blockage and ongoing conflict. Next, we go to external challenges. For external challenges, the Palestine face humanitarian consequences. The first point is diplomatic situation. Since they are labeling Hamas as a terrorist group, this causes diplomatic isolation and many countries avoid talking to them. This means that Palestine doesn't get a voice in important international discussion and global conversation. Second is impact on aid and funding. This labor effect the aid that Palestine receive. Many countries want to give financial help, but they are restricted from sending money. This hurt the economy and make it harder for Palestine to build important infrastructure like school, hospital and road. The last is legal consequences for supporters. The country that want to help Palestine may face legal trouble if they support Hamas. They risk being accused of supporting terrorists. Then we go to the next external challenges, which is foreign intervention favoring Israel. The first point is military aid and arms supply. One a major form foreign intervention is a military aid, particularly from the United States. The United States provide Israel with $1 billion annually in advanced weapon and missile defense system. This overwhelming military support give Israel a clear advantage and enabling prolonged military camping in Gaza and the West Bank, and make it difficult for Palestine to defend their land or negotiate on equal terms. The second is diplomatic support, especially from the US. The US often vetoes UN resolution critical of Israel, particularly regarding settlement expansion in occupied territories. This diplomatic backing shield Israel from international accountability and weaken Palestine effort to gain a global support for their cause. In conclusion, the Israel-Palestine conflict is a long-standing dispute causing severe humanitarian suffering, especially for Palestinians. Despite peace effort, a key issue remain unresolved, leading to ongoing violence and harm to civilians. That's all from me. Thank you.